This is Trigger by Tyler Jones. I fell asleep to Pa and Booker shouting. Woke up to the high whine of Pa's electric saw. Somewhere in there I heard the scream of a cougar echo across the field. Probably took one of Jacoby's sheep again. I get out of bed and go downstairs. The table, where we never eat, is still covered in cards and poker chips and empty beer cans. The saw sound is coming from the garage. High whine as it cuts through something. Low whine as it comes out the end. Pa, Booker, and two other guys from the mill come over on Mondays after work to shoot the shit and play cards. Loser has to buy beer for the next week. By the way the chips is scattered, I can't tell who won. One chair is knocked down, and some of the chips is on the ground. I go outside in bare feet, rubbing my eyes with one hand and my crotch with the other. Cold fall night with crickets singing in the fields, the old moon hanging there like a diseased eye. Nothing but field as far as I can see. Our nearest neighbor is Jacoby's farm. His house is just one light way out there in the dark. The saw stops and starts and stops again. I make it to the side door, wait until the saw stops, and knock. I know better than to walk in on Pa doing anything, especially with an electric saw. He's liable to cut a finger off, and he'd take off his belt and whip me good, even while blood still spurted out of the end of his stump. Ain't unlikely. After all, that's what happened to Booker. He lost half his ring finger at the mill. Got a bunch of time off work and some money cause of it, and he was always going on about his good fortune. The saw drops to the dirt floor of the garage, and boots crunch over to the door. It opens a bit. Pa's eye stares out the crack. "What are you doing up, Travis?" His breath, fresh camels and beer. "Did you hear the cougar?" I ask him. Pa lowers his head, then opens the door wider and steps outside. He takes the pack of cigarettes out of the pocket of his flannel shirt, slips one out and lights it. His face glows all red in the chariot. It makes him look like something out of one of them scary movies we ain't allowed to watch, but sometimes do when he's at work. "Listen," he says, "I need you to do something for me." The gravel is sharp ice under my bare feet. I shove my hands into my pajama pockets and clench my teeth. I don't want him to see me shiver. Pa's car is still parked in front of the house. Old brown Chevy with black primer covering the spots where the paint's peeled. He calls it the turd. "How'd Booker get home?" I ask him. Pa takes a drag. His eyes squint and the smoke and goes up into his face. "He walked," Pa says, his voice like he's sick. There's a smell coming off him. Reminds me like when we butchered the hog. The smell of insides and blood. The cherry glows again, and I see dark little stains all over his shirt. One of his only good shirts. All the others have small burn holes just like the couch. Pa blows out smoke, squints at me. "Trigger got killed tonight. The cougar got him." "Shit," I say. Pa's two fingers with a cigarette slashed down and pointed at my face. The cherry glows hot at my nose. "Language, boy," he says. "Sorry, Pa." The fingers lift and he takes another drag. "Jonah's going to be hurt something awful. He loved that dog. Don't want him to know yet. He's still worked up about your ma." I nod and a piece of gravel digs into the bottom of my feet. Feels kind of good, the way pain sometimes does. "I need you to bury him out in the field. Didn't want your brother to see him, so I cut him up, put him in trash bags, and put those in old duffels." "Like the deer," I say. Pa nods and breathes smoke out his nose like a dragon. "You got to bury it out there, too," he says. I can't hold it in anymore, and I shiver. Pa doesn't even notice. "Bugs will be in here. Make your brother help. Tell him the cougar got Trigger." "Yes, Pa," I say. He drops the cigarette and hits the ground like a tiny 4th of July. A spark lands at my foot, and it burns like the cold gravel. Pa turns and starts to open the garage door. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, and he stops and looks back at me. I swallow, but it's one of those bad ones that makes your chest hurt. "Why was you up?" he asks. Pa don't like it when I shrug. Says it's a dumb thing to do when God gave us words, but I shrug, and I'm glad he ignores it. "Thinking, I guess," I tell him. Pa's hand is still on the garage door. "Your ma?" "It's been since school started up that she's been gone. Pa didn't make Jonah and me go back, but since we ain't in school, we have to do lots of chores. Ain't said nothing about Ma since he told us she run off, and I sort of believed he didn't feel nothing over except maybe anger. But his face now, it's what I see in Jonah sometimes when he's all worked up about Ma leaving us. Usually when I look at Jonah, I see Ma all in his eyes and the way his smile is crooked, and that hurts. Pa looks down at my bare feet. Try not to think about her, he says, 'cause she sure as hell ain't thinking about us. He sighs and the breath comes out like smoke, hangs there a little while, comes close and puts a hand on my shoulder. Feel the hard calluses even through my shirt. I gotta finish cleaning up and get to work. Make sure your brother eats breakfast. He's looking weak, you know. He jerks his head at the garage. The job better be done when I get back. Don't want to hear no excuses. When he opens the garage door, the butchered hog smell comes out again. Pa turns around, tries to smile, but his face just looks like it does when he's lost at poker. We'll have chili for dinner tonight, okay? He says. And he goes into the garage and shuts the door. I stand there in the cold, watch the smoke of my breath go up into the air like a ghost leaving my body. I know Jonah's up because I hear his piss hitting water, and then he's walking like an elephant down the stairs. Each step bangs like a hand inside my head, and it makes me want to make him wear pillows on his feet. When he comes into the kitchen, he's rubbing his eyes and his belly at the same time, and Pa's right. He looks all skinny and stringy. "Morning," he says. I slide him a bowl and spoon and fill the bowl with plain Cheerios. Pa says you need to eat, I tell him. Joseph yawns and reaches for the sugar bowl, starts scooping one spoon after the other until there's a hill of the stuff. He's got Ma's hair. It's thick and the color of the dust at the bottom of the Cheerio bag. He's got her green eyes, too. Maybe that's why Pa's so hard on him. The bruise on Jonah's cheek is faded to the color of a smashed blueberry who never cried so hard as when Pa whooped him for mouthing off. "Can I watch a cartoon?" he asks. "Not today. We got work to do," I tell him. Jonah sighs, takes a bite, milk dribbles down his chin. Outside the garage, Jonah folds in half and barfs up breakfast when I tell him about Trigger. He cries so hard he starts wheezing when he breathes. Have to go get his medicine. He sucks on the inhaler, which calms him down a bit. His chin won't stop moving, and some part of me wants to hold it shut. Jonah got Ma's weak stomach, too. When she and Pa used to fight, she'd wrap her arms around her belly like her guts were going to fall out. She'd fold up just like Jonah is. The sounds she made were like Jacoby's sheep giving birth. At least she could cover her bruises with makeup. She didn't ever go nowhere anyway. Jonah's sobbing. Steam comes off his barf, and I tell him I'm sorry, but he needs to calm down. "He didn't ever do nothing to nobody," Jonah says. I tell him he needs to brush his teeth. The smell of the barf makes me think of what it tastes like. Makes me want to barf. I tell him the cougar's like a monster in one of them books Ma used to read to him. It's just out there hungry and waiting. Sometimes it comes to take things. Tell him that's what life is. This monster with teeth ripping stuff away from us. He stops blubbering just enough to look at me with big wet eyes. "Did the monster take Ma?" he says. I tell him no. Sometimes people get so beat up by the world they start ripping stuff apart themselves just because they know the monster's going to do it anyway, someday. Jonah turns to go back inside. He whispers, "God damn it. But I don't hit him like Pa would. There's a lot I don't know, but I know he ain't just crying for Trigger." When Jonah comes back out of the house, he's got Pa's hunting rifle over his shoulder. The stock hangs down behind his knees. "What the hell are you doing with that?" I ask him. Jonah's not crying anymore, but his eyes are all red, and he's got this look like when I pretend to flush his comic books down the toilet. I shouldn't have done it, because those mean more to him than anything. Ma got him at a garage sale. He's read them so many times the covers are all falling off the staples. "In case we see the monster," he says. Pa would be so mad if he saw Jonah with that gun. But Pa ain't here. If it makes Jonah feel better, I figure I won't say nothing about it. When I open the side door of the garage, the smell's not as bad as it was. There's still the stink of something dead in the air. The blood smell's mostly gone. Now the burnt meat stink of when the saw cut through Trigger is stronger. I yank the chain and the light comes on, and the bulb swings back and forth over two duffels sitting on the floor. Jonah won't notice, but the table saw is cleaner than it has been since Ma left. The dirt on the floor is raked. Jonah steps in behind me, wrinkles his nose. "Why's there 2 bags?" "Trigger was a big dog," I tell him. I grab the straps of one and start to lift, but it's heavier than I thought it'd be. I test the other one, and it's a bit lighter, so I tell Jonah to take that one and to use both hands. There's stuff moving around in the bag. Shifts like carrying a cooler full of beer after all the ice is melted. Heavy things moving inside liquid. Jonah can't quite carry his bag. He's more dragging it than anything. The gun slaps against the back of his legs, and one of his shoelaces is untied. I hold up my hand for him to stop, and kneel down and tie it for him. He smells like B.O., which is the first time I ever noticed that on him. He's still young. Sometimes he smells a bit ripe, but this is different. But he's getting pubes, too. So maybe Pa is wrong. Maybe Jonah isn't weak. Maybe he's just growing. We go out behind the house, me carrying the heavier bag, and Jonah pulling his through the grass like it's a shitty sled. His face all serious and tight-lipped like that. He looks older, too. Pa always said brushing up against death ages the ones still living. Guess he was right. My arms are burning, so I drop the duffel and take a breather in the middle of the field. Jonah stops, too, puts his hands on his knees, and breathes heavy like a smoker. The old dead tree is still a ways off. That's where the field dips down into a valley, and the forest begins after that. When you're down in that valley, no one can see you. That's where we buried the deer Pa hit with his truck. He said it was an elk, but we never saw no antlers, so maybe he got that part wrong. I think he'd been out drinking with Booker that night because it was so late he had to wake me up. It was morning by the time he finished telling me what happened. I shake my arms out and lift the duffel back up. Jonah starts dragging his again, pulling a trail of flat grass behind him. When we get to the tree, I stop again. Stings in my chest to breathe. Wish I had thought to bring some water, or shovels for that matter. Jonah reaches me and drops to the ground. The shirt under his armpits is all wet. I'd never seen that before either. Not on him. Looks down the hill to the valley floor. I see it too. The mound where the deer is buried. Young grass grows over the top of it. The ground is rocky down there. I remember sparks flying when the shovel blade hit them, and Jonah and I taking turns with me getting pissed because he's not as strong as me. The job would take longer, so I did most of the digging. Look back across the field to the house, and there's something dark and low to the ground running at us. My balls tighten up, and I say, "Jonah, gun." He looks up like he's been caught with his pants down and looks where I'm looking. He struggles to get the rifle off his shoulder. Still, this thing is running at us full speed. The closer it gets, it don't look like no cougar. The thing barks twice, and I know the sound because I've been hearing it for years. It's got to be a ghost. Me wishing things were different than they are. Jonah got the gun held out, fighting to hold the barrel steady. Swings past me, and my stomach falls lower because if he twitches at the wrong moment, he's going to hit me. The thing is close now. Hear panting, and Jonah is saying my name over and over, and then the thing is right on me, and Trigger jumps up, puts his muddy paws all over my chest. I get all dizzy because I ain't sure if time stopped or the world started spinning backwards. Sure as hell this dog is real. He barks again, and I get down on my knees, rubbing his neck and head. He's covered in mud, and some of his fur is all matted down with dark red stuff, dry and crusty. Jonah drops the rifle to the ground, something Pa would have given him a black eye for, and comes over. "Is it him?" he asks. Trigger didn't never have no collar. The tip of his tail is gone from where Pa backed over it in the truck. His one ear is almost the color of a blonde lady's hair. Dog has both them things. I nod at Jonah, and he smiles so big and laughs. Trigger runs to him next, rubbing the mud and blood all over Jonah's clothes, licking his face, nubby tail wagging like he ain't never been so happy in his life. Then the tail stops wagging, and Trigger puts his nose up in the air. Jonah keeps rubbing, but the dog don't notice. Trigger puts his face to the ground, waves it back and forth, leaves Jonah, and walks like he's on the trail of something. He goes over the duffel, makes a whining sound like he does when he's got to go outside to pee. Trigger pauses the bag and nips to the corner. "Trigger, knock it off," I tell him. Then I get that feeling again. My balls shrink, and I feel like I'm going to have diarrhea. Trigger bites at the bag, then jumps back, moves forward, and bites at it again. Shakes his head with the bag between his teeth, till the fabric rips a little and some dark liquid comes dribbling out. Jonah grabs Trigger by the scruff and pulls him back, lifts up the bag and drops it just as quick and backs away, shaking his head and saying, "No, no, no." He trips over a root of the dead tree and goes down on his ass. All the color leaves his face. It looks like the skin of that dead hog, all gray and lifeless and bled out. He points at the bag and says something, but I don't hear it. Lifts the bag up too, and something is poking out through the hole. I know what it is. My brain is slow to believe it, because I know what's in the bag Pa told me. This thing hanging out is not what Pa said. It's a hand. Pale skin like when you've been in the bath too long. No hair. Stained in that same black-red stuff that leaked out over the grass. Lift the bag up more and the stuff inside moves around. The butchered hog smell comes rushing out and hits my throat. The rip gets wider and the dead person's hand flops out more, all 5 fingers. One finger shorter than the other. There's a ripping sound and the tear gets bigger. There's the trash bag in the duffel, torn open too. Staring up at me from inside is an open eyeball. I can't tell if it's on a face or just floating there in all the blood. I let go of the bag and it drops and makes a waterbed sound and a bunch of dark liquid comes splashing out onto my jeans. Jesus, Travis, Jonah says, what the hell is that? The mouth hangs open and his chin is shaking and there's a big wet spot on the crotch of his jeans. It's Booker, I tell him. Almost can't breathe when I say it because of what that means. You sure? Jonah says. I hold up my hand and tap the ring finger. Jonah knows what I mean. Jonah starts crying, and I wish he'd stop. Can't think any thoughts. Pa lied. That's a cold knife slipping between my ribs. My throat's closing up, and I'm seeing black. Oh, Jesus, I just want to lay down and be nowhere. Jonah's just wailing now, rocking back and forth with his arms around his knees, and he don't look so old anymore. Looks just like he did when he was small enough to fit inside the dresser drawer where he'd hide and fall asleep and make everyone look for him sick with worry. The sun's behind some clouds, and I stare at it until my eyes go white and I see lights floating. When things clear, I turn back to the house, and there's someone coming across the field. A big woman with curly hair piled on top of her head. She looks kind of familiar. She's just a shape right now. I go over and slap Jonah on the face. Stop your blubbering and get down there. Put into the valley, in the grass-covered mound where we buried the deer. Take the duffel. Jonah looks up, sees the woman coming closer. He grabs the duffel and drags it down the hillside. While the sloshing makes more blood come spilling out. A long pink tube squeezes out past the eye and the hand, trails behind the bag like a tail. Trigger takes off running after Jonah. The woman's voice calls out, Howdy! What are you boys doing down here? I look back, and Jonah is almost at the bottom of the hill. He doesn't notice that Booker's hand has come all the way out of the bag and sits there in the blood trail like a dead fish. The pink tube has come out, too. My whole stomach clenches up like a fist, and acid burns my throat. Good thing I didn't eat breakfast, or it'd be all over my shoes. Just burying our dog, I yell back at the woman. She's closer now. Close enough to see she's wearing an Eddie's Diner's waitress uniform. The name Nina is stitched on the breast pocket. Her perfume smells like a grandma, but she don't look quite that old. Her eyelids is blue, and the makeup on her cheek cracks when she smiles. There's some wetness just under her nose. Her face is wide, and the uniform fits pretty snug. Shows the rolls of her arm, her belly. She says, Shouldn't you be in school? I glance back and see Jonah doing his best to drag the duffel behind the grass mound. If the woman looks down there, it ain't going to matter. Small trail of blood with a dead man's hand and a piece of his guts. Trigger's running in circles round that hand. No, ma'am, I say. Me and my brother's sick. Dog died last night, and Pa told us to bury him. The woman is close enough for me to hear the creak of her leather shoes. She stops and stares at me, and her eyes are kind. There's some worry in there, too. She's got a handkerchief all bunched up in one hand and a purse hanging from the other. Travis, isn't it? She says. Do you remember me? No, ma'am, I say. The woman wipes at her nose, says, I'm not surprised. We haven't seen each other in a while. I'm a little bigger than I used to be. I'm Lena Crenshaw, Booker's wife. I feel like there's another person inside me, living in my stomach. He's trying to push everything up out of my throat. She says, Booker didn't come home last night, and I'm getting kind of nervous. You haven't seen him, have you? I shake my head, but I can't speak, and I don't trust my legs no more. They're going all jelly. I suddenly have to pee real bad. I got that bad taste in my throat like I want to barf. Lena takes a few steps to me. Is your daddy home? I swallow and say, No, ma'am. He's at work. Lena opens her mouth but she doesn't say nothing. She looks at me like Ma used to when I'd get scraped up or fallen down. Oh, sweetie, she says, reaches out a hand like she wants to touch my face. You're all covered in blood. What happened? I look behind me real quick, but I don't see Jonah. Must have run up into the woods. I don't blame him. I see Trigger and I can't get in the air. He's sniffing at Booker's hand, and it takes all I got to not yell at him. Lena comes so close, her perfume's all I smell. My eyes is burning something awful, and she puts a hand on my arm. Come on, she says. Let's go inside and get you cleaned up. I'll make you some food. You're all skin and bones. Your daddy ain't cooking much these days, is he? Her foot moves into the blood on the grass. She feels it, looks down, sees the dark red liquid on her shoe. Travis, sweetie, what's all that blood from? Are you hurt? I told you, I say, hold one arm over my belly. I can't help it. Our dog died. Lena looks over my shoulder. Where were you going to bury him? Oh, Jesus, my stomach. Hurts so much I hunch over. Tears are coming. I feel them. Then Trigger barks and Lena's eyes go big. She walks past me to the edge of the hill. She's quiet as long as it takes me to stand up straight, and she's screaming, so loud and full of hurt that her voice breaks into big wheezy sobs like she can't breathe. Go out to the edge all hunched over and look down and see the dog has Booker's hand hanging out of his mouth. He's pawing with a piece of guts like it's a red snake. Lena's whispering, Sweet Jesus, dear sweet God in heaven. She spins around and her face is pain and fear and anger. See her eyes real clear. Look the same color as the gravel. My stomach clenches again, so tight I swear it's twisting itself into a knot. Lena's shaking her head and breathes heavy like a dog that's chased something. I smell her sweat now, and her perfume makes my head hurt like allergies. She's saying something about calling the cops. She doesn't know what's going on, but she's going to find out and take us away from Pa. Oh, sweet Jesus, what have you done? I sink to the dirt and dry heave just like Jonah does. And Lena puts a hand to her forehead and her skin is turning red. She calls me a monster. And she screams again. There's a thunder crack, but it don't come from the sky. It comes from the hill. And a hole bursts open in Lena's chest. I feel the warm mist fall on my face. Her mouth opens and her eyes get big and she stumbles forward a step or two. She goes down on her knees, looking at me the whole time. I see her lips moving and I want to know what she's saying, but I also don't because it's probably bad. Blood comes up over her lips and down her chin, and then she falls forward straight over her face, and her nose makes a snapping sound. Behind her comes Jonah holding the rifle. Little smoke still coming from the barrel. Jonah don't look like no killer. His lips and nose are moving like he's trying not to cry. I get up and go over to him, and he hands me the gun like it's something horrible he don't want to hold no more. And his hands are grabbing grass, and her thick legs are twitching, trying to push herself forward. She scrapes her belly along the grass. Bubbling sounds come from her mouth, and she's moaning, but it's weak. She's dragging a big trail of bright blood now, and the moaning drives me crazy like a squeaky wheel on a shopping cart. Jonah pushes into my leg, with his hands held together up by his heart like praying. He sniffs against my jeans and says, Can you make her stop? That sound is hurting in my head. Lena moans and gurgle breathes as she drags herself further into the field. I leave Jonah and walk over to her. I could take the blame when it all comes out. That don't help Jonah none. He knows what he did. He can't carry that all by himself. Lena coughs and sprays blood on the grass, and her moaning has a wheeze in it, like a balloon leaking air. I raise up the rifle, looking back at Jonah, tell him to cover his ears and close his eyes. He does as I say. I aim the gun and pull the trigger. Jonah and I sit at the top of the hill. He chews his nails until they bleed and there's red smeared around his mouth. Trigger dropped the hand a while ago. Now he's pawing at the grass mound and whining. Are we thinking the same thing? Jonah says. I figure we probably are, I tell him. Jonah's chin is shaking and his eyes are full of water. Can you say it? He asks. Please, I don't want to. I breathe out as far as I can. We're thinking if it wasn't Trigger in them duffels, it means Pa lied. And now we're wondering if it was really a deer in them duffels we buried down there. Nodding at the green mound. Jonah sniffs and nods. Stay here, I tell him. He's sitting in the same place, chewing the nails on his other hand when I come back with the shovels. I hand him one and we go down the hill to the grass-covered mound where we buried the deer. We don't say nothing. We just stab the blades into the ground and dig.